Chef Frank, this is Protocooks, and today we're making turnip cakes with Frankie and Scott. So Frankie, how do we know each other?
We know each other from work.
From work. So I am a family consumer science teacher. I teach the kids to cook. Frankie, can you guess what she does? What do you do, Frankie?
I teach chorus and general music.
Yes. And you're a singer-songwriter, and you have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
What's it called?
Frankie Gray Music.
And I'm going to link Frankie Gray Music in the description, as well as kind of put something up here. I'll put one of her videos up here so you can find her. And how do I know you, Scott? I don't know you yet.
So I'm Frankie's boyfriend.
So the reason why we're here today is because today is the Lunar New Year. It is January 22nd, and we're going to make a turnip cake. This is loosely based off of Scott's mom's recipe.
Yep.
It's not exact, but it's loosely based on her recipe, and it's something that you remember eating for the New Year.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a fairly traditional dish.
It is very true.
And your family is Taiwanese.
Taiwanese.
Frankie and I have something in common. We both grew up on Long Island. My wife grew up there too. Scott did not. And Frankie is actually Chinese, adopted by an Italian family. So not only do we grow up in Long Island, we both come from an Italian background. Scott, Taiwanese.
Yes.
He was born in California.
Born in California.
Born in California.
Raised in Taiwan.
Raised in Taiwan. So the Lunar New Year in general, like this is something you're just discovering, whereas it was part of your life growing up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
And like, you know, what was it like? You know, what does it mean when you come from a family, an Asian family, and what does Lunar New Year mean, and like, what are the traditions surrounding it? Just from your experience, it doesn't have to be like, you know, what is that?
So from my experience, celebrating Lunar New Year with families is usually like a new start for all of us, and we all gather around together in a long table, and we will have so many different dishes that represents luck. So then we will eat those dishes, and turnip cake or daikon cake is one of them.
Yeah. So if you want to make these turnip cakes, you don't have to go through this whole process. You can actually go and buy it. It comes, I've seen it, it's in like plastic. It's shrink wrapped in plastic. You slice it up and cook it, you keep it in the fridge. For the turnip cakes, this is what you're going to need. Taiwanese or Chinese sausage, dry shrimp, rice flour, daikon, white pepper, sugar, sesame oil, salt, and vegetable oil. So before we start cooking, we're going to talk about some of the ingredients. How many of these are familiar to you?
They're all new to me. This
All
is
new.
a learning experience.
Good. So like I said, Scott is in the wings. He's filming. He's also going to walk us through what his mom told him to do. We have some Taiwanese sausage, very similar to Chinese sausage. It's a dry sausage. I've had this before. I've used it in stir fries. I think it's salty. I think it's a little fatty, and I love it. I think it's delicious. I would use this as a garnish. I would put it in eggs. You know, you can do so many things with it. Dried shrimp. Have you ever eaten these?
I have not.
They're very strong. They're a little chewy at this point. I've used these for Thai food before, in like, you know, papaya salad and dressings and stuff like that. I love them. I like to fry them. I like to get them a little crispy and use them as kind of croutons in a salad. We have rice flour, which is just ground up rice. That is the base of this cake. And then we have daikon. So the name of this cake is turnip cake, but we're really using a daikon. Have you had daikon before?
I think I've actually had daikon soup once before.
Yeah, daikon's delicious. They actually cook up really nice, and it's just basically a giant radish. It's not a turnip. So a turnip cake is kind of a misnomer. This is actually a daikon cake, right? I like daikon when it cooks up. It gets nice and tender. I've had it in hot pot restaurants. You put it in the broth and it like soaks up a lot of that flavor. So I love daikon. And I've had it pickled at Korean restaurants. Like if you get Korean fried chicken, because you used to live in Manhattan. Do you ever have Korean fried chicken?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
so.
it's like crispy. They usually serve a daikon like pickle with that, and I think it's delicious. So before we actually make the turnip cake, we have to prepare some of the ingredients. I have the sausage, I have the dried shrimp. I soak these in some warm water, and we're going to drain that and chop them up. So let's do that. You strain those.
Okay.
Okay, let's pull these apart, and I'm going to cut them into small cubes. So look at that sausage. It's nice and fatty. Smells good? Yeah, it smells good. No?
Yeah.
It's all right. All right, and then we're gonna dice it up into small cubes so that when we cook the turnip cake, we get little bites. Taste the piece. A little sweet, a little fatty. I would eat that like it's a pepperoni stick or something, like a Slim Jim. I'll go into the bowl, and then we're gonna cut our shrimp. I'll chop those babies up, and we'll put these aside. Next thing we want to do, according to Scott's instructions, where we want to peel and weigh out the daikon. So what I like to do is this. I'll cut yours off.
Okay.
You cut the ends off, right? You take the smaller one. How about that?
All right.
That might be a little easier. And then we're going to peel. What I like to do when I peel is hold the daikon in my hand and make long, skinny strokes. And you basically just peel it all kind of like one nice ribbon. Do you have the grandma style peeler at home?
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to cut them into
Right. Sounds good.
bite-sized pieces like this. Like whenever I grate stuff, we're going to grate this on a box grater. I don't like to try and grate a big thing like this. It's unruly and hard to hold. So whenever I grate stuff, I always make it so that it fits in my hand. If I'm trying to grate this big daikon, it's just too much. So now we have to grate. I gave you a box grater. I have the box grater. One of the things that I like to do as far as box grating is, like I said, get something in the size of my hand. So that's probably a good size for your hand.
Okay.
And a lot of people will grate like this. I like to lay it on its side and push. You get a little more leverage this way, so lay it that way and push away from you. So when you grate, you're kind of using your body weight for leverage and not necessarily using your muscles. And it also helps by collecting most of it, and you can just kind of like tap it into the bowl. Now when you get down to that part, you can turn it on its side so that you don't have, not too close to the blade. Don't worry about making a mess either. Like, it's kind of my MO, I make a mess. Dump that in, just lift the whole thing up and slide it in there, yeah. So now we're gonna get Scott in here to help out. There you go. Turn it up on its side. You're gonna get it. It's easier. If you turn it on its side like this, you have less surface area, less gripping, and you'll be able to grate much faster and more efficiently. And then what I do, as you get closer to the blades, I'll turn it again. So now you have more to grab onto, less surface area, less stickage.
You'll also avoid injury too.
Avoid injury. We don't want to get cut, right? One thing that Scott's mom told him to do was to take the sausage and the shrimp and cook it a little before we put it into our radish mixture. So I'm going to put a little sesame oil in the pan, and I'm going to put the sausage in. And I'm going to try and cook it, I think, without color, right? Because we want these turnip cakes to be as bright white as possible. So we'll just cook that until it sizzles a little, and then we'll add some shrimp. So sausage is sizzling. I don't think I'm going to add all the shrimp. It's a lot of shrimp. I'm just going to add about 2/3 of it, and we'll give it a toss. We want to heat it through, get some of that oil from the sausage to melt into it, and then we can set this aside and do our radish. So the next thing that we're doing is we're going to cook the daikon. Now, Scott, your mom does this a little different. The way that I've seen it is people put it in water and they blanch it until it's slightly cooked to keep it nice and white. But you were saying what, Scott?
So if the daikon is in a very dry condition, then we will add water. But
Yeah.
daikon itself has a lot of water content.
Yeah.
So then it's best not to add water when it's like really fresh.
So the way that Scott's mom does it is she will put it in a pan with a little bit of oil, and we'll just cook it down to get some of the moisture out. No color. We want this to be nice and bright white, so we're just going to take the daikon, get our pan hot. If it's too hot, you're going to hear it sizzle, and we don't want that. So you get this and scrape it out, Frankie, and I'm just going to dump. You just get whatever else. So we're basically going to boil this down. You can already see that it's a lot of liquid in there. That's the salt and the red thing, and give it a good like. Don't be shy. Don't give me a pinch. Give me like a nice little. Go ahead, double that. Yeah. Spread it around. Maybe one more pinch like that, and maybe give it like let's give it. Scott said that your mom put sugar in too, right?
White pepper and sugar.
Okay, so let's put some of the sugar in too, Frankie, which is there. Maybe just shake that in there. Maybe like you could just pick it up and shake it.
Oh, the whole thing?
Yeah, not the whole thing. Let's just do about like a third of that. Let's hit that with a little bit of white pepper. The daikon is cooked. Some of the moisture, Frankie, get that spoon and just push that away and let's see what it looks like. We still have a little bit of moisture in there, but most of the moisture is cooked out. The daikon is still nice and white. And they seem like they're kind of tender at this point. You want to taste it at this point? Let's taste a little piece. Get in there. Yeah, it tastes good. I think it maybe needs a little salt. I'm a salt fiend.
Same with Scott.
So we have to prepare the pan for this, and we're going to use a circle pan. That's what was suggested, but I have a rectangular piece of parchment. How do I get that in there? So you're going to learn something today. And this is a classic technique where you're going to fold up your parchment paper, and the parchment basically is going to stop it from sticking on the bottom. You can use this for cakes, any baked good, and I'm just going to fold it into just smaller and smaller rectangles, and then I'm going to take the open ends and fold the closed ends and the open ends together. So the closed ends go together and the open ends remain together. And we're just going to keep on folding until we have a nice triangle. And then we're going to take this and measure to the center. So there's the center. I'm going to cut in front of where my finger was. And then, like magic, I used to call this, when I worked at culinary school, origami with Chef Frank, right? So now we have a circle, right? So what I'm going to do with this circle is I'm going to take a little bit of our sesame oil, right? And I'm just going to kind of like spread it around with that parchment circle and stick it down. So that when we actually cook our rice flour mixture, this is ready to go.
So Chef Frank, what's the purpose of us using the parchment paper instead of greasing the bottom?
Basically, the parchment will stop it from sticking, right? There is a actual physical barrier there that the turnip cake or the daikon cake will not stick to. And if it sticks along the side, we can always just run a knife through and it'll pop right out. This will make it so much easier for us to get it out. Before we cook our rice flour and daikon mixture, we want to make this rice flour into a smooth paste. Because if we put this on top of the daikon right now, it's going to be lumpy and chunky, and we don't want this. We want it to be a smooth paste. So I have some cold water, and you're going to whisk. Okay. And I have about 1.5 cups, but we'll start and see what it looks like. I'm going to give you a little more. I think it needs a little more. And we want to get it as smooth as possible. You get up on the edges there too. And we want this to be a paste before it goes into the pot with the daikon. And I think we're finally ready to actually cook this and get it ready to go. Nice and smooth?
I think so.
Good. Okay, I'm going to give this a quick whisk. No, it looks good. You did great. Now it's time to assemble everything. And from what I've learned through my research, through what Scott was telling us, we want to cook everything in the pot until it comes together to like a smooth kind of paste, I guess, right? And what I do here as a chef is called mise en place. It's a French term that means everything in its place. Get everything you need to make this dish. So we prepared our pan, we cooked our shrimp and sausage, we have our rice, flour, and water mixture, and we have our daikon and pot. So we have everything we need. So I'm gonna turn this up, right? I'm gonna let this start to bubble away a little, and then you're gonna add that.
Okay.
All right?
Sounds good.
So let's get this hot. It looks good. Reminds me of potato pancakes a little, even though
it does look like it.
Okay, so that's, if you listen, that's one thing that most people who cook at home don't do. They don't listen to their food, and this one's telling me, okay, it's starting to cook. So let's add that, Frankie.
Okay.
Just dump it in. Give me the spatula. You dump, and I'll scrape with the spatula.
Okay.
All of it. We'll add that. Get that spatula, Frankie, and I'm going to do this, and you're going to dump that in.
Okay.
Our shrimp and our sausage goes in with all the sesame oil. And now we're just going to stir this up and let it cook. The rice is going to thicken, right? Because it's rice, basically rice starch. It's going to thicken and make kind of like a smooth paste. Let's get into our pre-prepared pan. I mean, it looks legit so far, I think, right?
It does.
You want to pack that down in there? We'll pack it down, and then the next part is actually we have to steam it. Okay, this has been a process. The next step in this process is to actually steam the radish cake. And what we're going to do is put this on steamer. You can put that right in the center. We're going to let it go for like 20 minutes, test it, see where it's at. But we basically just want this to form one big cake. So we'll put the lid on and let it cook away happily. So this is cooked for a total of about, I guess, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So we're going to open it up. Watch your face. And there it is. I mean, I think it looks good. I have a skewer that I'm going to stick in, and it's still coming out a little sticky, but I think we're going to be okay once it cools down. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to get this chilled all the way before we slice and fry it.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's chill it, and then we can slice and fry it. So it's taken us a little while to get here, but we finally have a finished cake. And what I'm going to do is, and you asked me about the parchment circle, this is where it's going to really help us. I'm just going to take a spatula. You can use a knife or a spatula, right? And I'm going to tip it out and see what happens. You ready?
Oh, cool.
So that's what the parchment does. It gives us a nice, clean, it just pops out. We're going to cut it. Let's see what the inside looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a serrated knife. Oh, it cuts really nice.
Mm.
Look at that.
Oh, nice.
What do you think?
That's very good.
It looks good, right?
Yeah.
It's nice and solid. We're going to slice it, and now we got to fry it, right? And then we can cut into slices.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Is that good, that slice?
Yes.
It smells good. I'm going to put it on this plate. Let's set up a frying pan, and we can fry these off and finally taste them.
Ooh.
Ooh. Scott had recommended we try it like this. So let's taste a piece like this. This is not fried, just cooked. Wow. That's really good.
Yeah, good.
I like it. Scott, come in here and try this.
My mom's gonna be proud.
Yeah? Good.
Aw.
I have the pan hot. I have some sesame oil. I'll grab one, you grab one. Try not to
Alright.
burn your arm like I just did. So we're just gonna let these brown. Do you let them brown on all sides?
Just the top and bottom side.
Top and bottom?
Yeah.
And we want it a little crispy, right?
Yeah.
All right. So all we're really looking to do here, I think, is get it brown and get it hot, right? So I think that's good, or Scott thinks that's good. Let's plate it up and we can finally taste. All right, now is my favorite time to taste. Obviously, Scott, you've had this before. You know what it's supposed to taste like. So I want an honest opinion on how we did. But let's dig in and try. I'm gonna cut a piece for myself and for my camera lady. I'm gonna pass that to my camera lady.
Woo.
But you guys dig in, let's taste.
All right. Just do this piece.
It smells great. I right off the bat, it smells delicious. I love the sausage in there. I think they look good too. What do you think?
The look looks very authentic to me.
Not so bad, not so bad. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Cheers.
Cheers.
Now, I don't know anything about anything, but I think that is delicious. What do you think? I think the texture is nice. I taste some of the sausage. I taste some of the shrimp. Nothing's overpowering. It's not too salty. I think the seasoning's pretty good. What do you guys all think?
What do you think?
And it's delicious.
I really like the crunch levelness on the outside,
Yeah.
which is really nice. And then each family has different preferences of like how soft or how firm they want their cake. So this is definitely passable as like a traditional
Yeah.
turnip cake. So first of all, like the whole objective of like to make sure that the turnip cake tastes good is to make sure that everything melts into your mouth. So this turnip cake definitely has that elements to it.
Yeah.
But I would say my family would probably like it a little bit more firm.
A little more firm.
But again, like everyone has different preferences.
Now, what about dipping sauces? What do you usually use in Taiwan?
So the most basic sauce that we will use is actually soy paste. So they're soy sauce but thicker.
Yeah.
So imagine like a hoisin sauce or like oyster sauce, but it's just soy sauce.
And I can imagine that it would be good with chili oil,
yes,
hot
yes.
sauce. You can probably put pretty much anything on this.
Yeah.
Frankie Scott, thank you so much for coming and showing us this dish and walking us through it. We really appreciate it. It's something that I think I will make again, definitely. No doubt I'll make this again. It was delicious. And, thanks for sharing your stories about your Lunar New Year's. And thanks for sharing your story about growing up. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for hosting us and having us. This was so much fun.
It's our pleasure. We really enjoy having people over and trying new things and especially cooking with people. So if you want to find Frankie on YouTube, it's Frankie Gray on YouTube. She has her own channel. She writes, produces, sings, performs all her own music. Check her out there. I'll put a link in the description down below, and I'll have it up here somewhere in the sky above our head. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If it did, give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We have merch in the description down below. We have a P.O. box down there as well. I want to thank our Patreon patrons for supporting us. We really appreciate your support. And that is our Lunar New Year turnip cakes. I'm Chef Frank.
I'm Frankie Gray.
And I'm Scott Chu.
This is Protocooks. Have a good one.